we're going to get started. I wanted to thank you all for coming first to meet Dr. Colin. If anyone hasn't yet gotten a raffle ticket from Michelle, she's at the back just by the food. It's for some awesome door prizes, so make sure that you see her before the end of the night if you haven't done that yet. And let's give a round of applause for Dr. Colin.
Thank you. Good morning. Hi, everybody. You know, this is hilarious because I remember when I was at CMCC and I was telling Jenna and Michelle that I went to CMCC when it was on Bayview, and that was back a few years ago. I graduated in '93, and it was the same thing. Everybody would migrate to the back 10 rows of the lecture hall. So if you guys can't hear me, just holler. I'll talk louder if you need to. I think the mic's working okay. Everybody okay? We good? All right, cool. So first of all, I just want to say thank you very much to Jenna and to Michelle for inviting me down here tonight. We're going to have some fun tonight. You guys want to have some fun? Yeah. Okay, cool. I have a very special gift, one for Jenna, one for Michelle here, that I brought from my office. This is pretty cool. This is a book called 1 Minute Wellness. It was actually written by a friend of mine, Ben Lerner, and it is a story of a person who enters chiropractic care and actually has his scoliosis corrected, okay? Which I know you guys can't do here at CMCC. I'm just kidding. But that's something that you don't really talk about. But it's actually a great story because the story is on the left side of the page, and there's actually scientific studies and documents on the right side of the page to support everything that's going through the story. So this is a really cool read. So when Michelle and Jenna are done with this book, ask them to borrow it. It's really cool. So I have one for Jenna here. 1 Minute Wellness. Big round for Jenna for all your work and support everything for the school and for Friends in Chiropractic, and for Michelle, who's the president of the Maximized Living Club. So here's one for Michelle as well. So, like I said, we're going to have some fun tonight. So, first of all, can I just get started by just asking a couple things? I would just like your permission tonight to get a little abstract. Can we do that? By having some fun, get a little abstract. So I'd like you to just kind of open your minds tonight, open your hearts. I remember a few things through my career in Chiropractic College and then getting into practice and going through years of practice that really had a huge effect on me, okay? And there are certain things that I look back at that I can say, wow, you know what, that's something, or that's a speaker, or somebody said something, or I learned something, or saw something, or visited somebody's practice that will stick with me for the rest of my life because it really changed the way that I think. So I'm hoping that tonight, if it's just one of you tonight, is going to get something to tweak your interest in chiropractic in perhaps a different way or a different perspective that you haven't had before, then I know it served its purpose this evening, okay? I brought my son Carter with me tonight. He's my techie guy and one of my best buddies, so he's here tonight. Grade 9 student, Carter. I have 4 boys. Carter's number 2. Good enough for Carter, thank you. All right. So, I have a question. Being here at CMCC, I know you guys don't get into a heck of a lot of philosophy and stuff like that relative to other colleges and whatnot. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But I just want to ask you a question. Who's the founder of chiropractic? Put up your hand, tell me. Who? Who said it first? Okay, right there. What's your name? Ian. Ian. Here I have a book for Ian. All right. Way to go, Ian. D.D. Palmer is correct. That is the correct answer. Oops, using my mic here. Hear me still? Okay, cool. All right, so what happened? Do you guys know what happened during the first adjustment? What happened?
The cavitation.
Cavitation happened, yeah.
He reversed someone's deafness?
That's exactly right. He reversed. The story goes, D.D. Palmer, listen to this. Do you guys know D.D. Palmer is a Canadian?
Yes.
From Port Perry, like an hour up the road here. Have you ever been to Port Perry? In Port Perry, if you go to Port Perry, you should make a trip, honestly. Summer trip, take a trip one day, go up to Port Perry. It's right on Lake Scugog. It's a really nice area. In the park in Port Perry, there's a playground. There's a merry-go-round and a swing set and a slide. Right in the middle of this park, between these children's play toys, is a statue of D.D. Palmer. No kidding. And it says right on it says, D.D. Palmer, founder of chiropractic. And there's a little caption at the bottom that says, I have never found it below my dignity to relieve human suffering. It's pretty cool, actually. It's really neat. It's kind of it's a real tribute to him, the fact that he's Canadian, and he's the founder of our profession. So yeah, you're exactly right. What's your name, by the way?
Steve.
Steve. So Steve says that yes, the story goes he reversed somebody's hearing. D.D. Palmer was actually a magnetic healer. Healed with magnets, okay? So he was always into kind of these weird ways of healing. He was into the very sort of other end of the spectrum from medicine. So he was healing with all kinds of magnets. And so it was actually one day this janitor comes in. What's his name? Harvey Lillard, right? So Harvey Lillard comes in, and Harvey's deaf, and D.D. Palmer does this little short history with Harvey, and Harvey says his deafness started because this bone moved in his neck, and ever since then he couldn't hear. So what's D.D. do? He goes in there and he moves the bone and restores the hearing, as the story goes. Well, actually, for those of you who've heard that story, that's completely untrue. Okay? It's completely untrue. I have video evidence that it was actually the other way around. Harvey Lillard was an African-American janitor. This happened down in Davenport, Iowa. African-American janitor, and he was actually the one to perform the first adjustment on Dee. You want to see the video? It's pretty cool. I got the video evidence right here. Here it is. You guys hear that okay?
What did you do?
Just give it a twist. That's all you got to do. Just give it a twist. You know, I want to just share with you a little bit about where I came from and where we evolved to through the years of chiropractic. And hopefully this will maybe open your eyes a little bit, open your heart to really what's available. Because you know what? You guys are in such a great position right now being in college. And I know in Chiropractic College, I know that it's a lot of work. I understand that. I mean, I've been through it. I know you guys go home and it's nonstop studying and you're getting prepared. Some of you are getting prepared for boards coming up in the spring and you're getting prepared for exams coming up soon and it's nonstop tests and everything else, right? I get it. But you're in such a great position that you have no clue what impact you can have on people and on your communities and on the world with what you have in your hands and what you have in your body. You know, it's really cool because I came to Chiropractic College kind of by accident, right? And I wanted Carter to hear this tonight because I was really into health, right? I was really into fitness. I was into sports. I played football at high school. I got recruited. I ended up playing at University of Guelph, played football there. We won a Vanier Cup back in 1984 and had a great year. But I always knew that I wanted to do something in the health field. And I thought about going to med school. I thought about getting into pharmaceutical sales. And I just thought, you know what, that stuff just wasn't for me at the time. And I really kind of got introduced to chiropractic by accident. I had an injury and went to go see my dad's chiropractor. And he gave me just this little briefing about what chiropractic was all about. And my first adjustment, honest to God, he didn't explain anything to me. I thought he broke my back. The first time I got adjusted, I thought my spine was broken. I walked out of there thinking, I'm surprised I'm walking right now because I think my spine is broken. So it was really a unique experience. But the more I learned about it, the more I just absolutely loved it, fell in love with it. So I decided, yes, I wanted to go to Chiropractic College. Well, back then when the college was on Bayview, they accepted, at that time, 150 students. How many do they accept a year now? Around 200? Yeah, okay, I figured somewhere around there. So it was 150 students, but there was 3,500 applicants, right? So the chances of getting in were very slim, and I thought, you know what, I don't want to waste a year. I don't want to take the chance of applying and then not getting in. So I ended up going down to National. I ended up going down to National College in Chicago, did my first year down there. Well, and I loved the school. I mean, it was great. Made a lot of friends down there. I loved Chicago. It was a beautiful city. It was in the days of Michael Jordan in his heyday, winning championships. It was a lot of fun. But realized that at that time, the Canadian dollar was worth about maybe 78 cents. So there's no way I could financially afford it. So I ended up transferring back here, and I couldn't work down there. So I ended up transferring back to Chiropractic College. And what did I do? I ended up getting a job part-time down in downtown Toronto at the Adelaide Club, a health club. It's like a high-end squash club down there, just so I could pay my rent. So, and it was fun. I mean, we had a great time. You know, I would cut class at 2 o'clock so I could scoot downtown and work till 11 o'clock at night and do it all over again the next day. So this is one thing that I never got involved in Friends in Chiropractic. We had that group back then. I never got involved in guest speakers coming to the school. I mean, people would be talking about, hey, there's this guy coming tonight as a guest speaker. You should come. I got to work, you know. So when I got out of school, my whole psyche was the fact that I learned everything that I learned in class, in seminar. I didn't have a chance to go see other people's offices. I didn't have a chance to really get involved in all the extracurricular activities, or let alone go to a seminar on a weekend, because I was working. So my mindset was that when I got out of school, I did everything that I was supposed to do in practice, the same as what I did in clinic. You know, I just thought that made perfect sense. So I remember I met my wife in Chiropractic College. We graduated together. We went and we opened up a practice. I thought of associating, talked to a couple of people, it just didn't work out properly. So we thought, we're just going to open up a practice. Went back to my hometown. And so I remember we went out and it was, you know, get the line of credit. And holy smokes, you know, it's like the world opens up. And we went out and we bought an IFC machine. We bought an ultrasound. We bought thumper massagers. Because this is exactly what we did in clinic. We thought that's what we got to do. And I remember we didn't hire any staff members that first basically the first 6 months or first year in practice. And I remember seeing my first few weeks in practice, I'd have a patient at 8 o'clock, I'd have another patient at 1 o'clock, and then I'd have a patient at 4:30. And that would be a busy day. And I'd be pretty excited about that. We'd come, hey, I saw 3 today, honey. You know, so it was funny. But then, you know, gradually it grows, and you just start to make relationships with people and start to get out in the community, and people start to know what you do. And things start to grow, and then we hired a staff member. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't until probably 3 years in practice. And, you know, and I look back now, and I say to myself, if I'd only known then what I know now, I would have done things completely differently, right? I would have done exactly what you guys are doing, and come out to see guest speakers, and come out to seminars, and really got a feel for what's out there in the profession. And so I remember it was my 3rd year in practice, and we were doing pretty well. I mean, we were starting to pay off our student loans and making some money. And at that point, you know, like there's this guest speaker coming for a seminar. His name was Jim Sigafus, coming for a seminar up in Huntsville. And my wife said, you know what, I've heard him speak before on cassette tapes. We had cassette tapes back then. Some of you don't know what those are. But so I heard him talk on tapes, and you know what, we should go to the seminar. I said, you know what, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to. So, but she talked me into it. And it completely changed my life. So what we did, the message that we got that weekend, it's like the spirit took over my body and said, we gotta make some changes. So we came back Monday morning. This is after 3 years in practice. We were pretty solid practice, you know, at that point. We were seeing close to 200 people a week. And it was relatively busy, you know, like I said, making some good money. And we just decided, we got to start talking about the principle of chiropractic. We got to start telling people that they have a God-given healing power within them that runs through the nerves, and when that God-given healing power is disrupted by means of a subluxation, we got to remove that subluxation and then allow that power to start healing that body. And which was completely foreign to me. Completely foreign to many of you guys. I see a couple of you kind of looking at each other, giving the elbows, right? It sounds weird, doesn't it? It sounds weird. I was scared. You know what? We were scared. So we went back and we thought, okay, let's get rid of everything. Sunday night, we went into the office. We got the IFC machine, put it in the back closet. We got the thumpers, wrapped them up, put them in the back closet. I ended up selling them for pennies just to get rid of them. It was amazing, the response. Honestly, I thought we're going out of business. That week, people were coming in going, you finally got it. Doc, you finally got it. This makes perfect sense to me. It was amazing when you start talking about the principle, how people's light bulbs go on. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Within 3 months, our practice doubled. We went up to 400 visits a week within 3 months after making that one decision. One person left because he liked IFC on his knee. One person ended up going to somebody else so he could see somebody who would give him IFC on his knee. And that's what happened. And then it just grew from there. Our office currently sees 1,100 patient visits a week. We see a lot of people, you know. So we came from a place where I remember coming out of school and we were so overwhelmed with our student loans. Any of you guys there? We were so overwhelmed with our student loans that we thought, how are we ever going to pay these off? And honestly, guys, I mean, you see a lot of people for a long period of time. A nice side effect of that, you make a lot of money. I mean, you do very, very well. But the thing is, I'm going to tell you right now, I've never, ever adjusted somebody for money. Get it? I've never adjusted them for money. I adjust them because I feel like I was called into chiropractic. I feel like God led me here to be a chiropractor. I really have that feeling. You know, and we talk about that in our office. But it comes through my heart. It comes through every single patient we see in our office. And that's the calling I hope that many of you find that you have as you get into practice. And we're going to talk about this tonight just to kind of help you to open up your mindset and talk about some things that you're going to go home tonight and it's going to get your brain turning a little bit, but that's my intention. Okay? I want to get you thinking. I want to give you a different perspective on some things tonight. So let's talk about this. Let's get into this a little bit. So I want to ask you, why are you here? Really? It's the really, okay? Why are you here? Really? Why'd you come to Chiropractic College? Why'd you come here? Pretty cool, be a chiropractor. I want to be a doctor. You know, I thought of that. You know, I want to be a doctor. I want to have that DR in front of my name. How many people say, I want to help people? I want to help people. A friend of mine did interviews for the Chiropractic College years ago, and he said 94% of the patients that did their interview, why do you want to be a chiropractor? I want to help people. How are you going to help people? Okay, how are you going to help people? Let's talk about that as we go through this tonight. So I want you to think about that for the next 60 minutes or so. Think about, why are you here? Okay? Really, really, why are you here? Make a lot of money? What is it? Okay? Who knows the number one principle in chiropractic? Who knows the initial premise? Come on. What is it?
Universal intelligence.
Right, okay, stand up. What's your name? Yeah, it wasn't her. What's your name? Here. Tom, way to go, Tom. Listen, there's a universal intelligence. Do you guys know the 33 principles? Do you guys ever talk about that in school? 33 principles, right? Number one principle, and listen, guys, you got to understand this because this will define you. This will define you as a chiropractor. It will. The number one principle in chiropractic is a universal intelligence, okay? Now listen, for those of you who are, okay, this is a religious thing. It's not. It's not. Listen, I call it God. That's fine. That's what I call it. You call it whatever you want. Dee and BJ, when they started developing the whole philosophy of the profession, said, you know what? They were very strong Christian people. They were extremely strong Christian men. And they said, you know what? We understand that there's this God-given healing power in this body, but we can't call it God because it'll be rejected. It'll get completely rejected. It'll be coined as some sort of religious cult. He said we have to figure out a term that people are going to understand and relate to. So let's call it universal intelligence. There's a universal intelligence. There's a universal intelligence that exists in all matter, not just living matter, all matter, that continually gives to it its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. Listen, get this, because this is so huge. This defines how people are going to heal and how you're going to change the world. It really does. Listen, there's universal intelligence in this wood. There's universal intelligence in this chair. There's universal intelligence in the wall. There's universal intelligence everywhere in this room that continually gives to it its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. Okay? It sounds pretty weird to some of you, doesn't it? It sounds weird. But listen, when you break it down, quantum physics, they start talking about the difference between atoms and protons and neutrons and electrons. And guess what? They're all the same. The atoms in here have protons, neutrons, and electrons. The atoms in here have protons, neutrons, and electrons. What's the difference? They're just organized differently. They're just organized differently. That's all. The atoms in your body are just organized differently. That's it. They vibrate at a different frequency. They're just protons, neutrons, and electrons, just like in the wood, just like in the chair. But it's just that organization. There's got to be some higher thing controlling that. Okay, you get it? Right, so let's just kind of go with that for a minute here. Let's just think about that. If we take that and say in this human body, there's this innate intelligence that works within us. Okay? This innate is constantly healing us, constantly allowing us to function. It knows when to heal a cut. Okay? It has this central this central working system that works throughout us. And I want to just prove to you that this works because this is an old picture of me. I was a really good swimmer back then. Come on, it's funny. Okay, but listen, think about this. It's a perfect example of innate intelligence. Two cells come together, right? When you were just a twinkle in your father's eye, two cells come together, and from those two cells, you are formed. What's the first system in the body that's formed 4 weeks after conception? You guys should all know this. Your nervous system. Your nervous system is the very first system that's formed 4 weeks after conception. Everything else, your heart, your lungs, your pancreas, your spleen, your kidneys, everything else grows from that. Everything else grows from your nervous system. The nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, the central nervous system, are the master controlling system of the body. They control everything. Okay? Watch this. Each of these bodies, this is the one you see over here in the anatomy lab, and this is a living one. Each of these feet belong to a body that contains 206 skeletal bones, 5.2 liters of blood, 62,000 miles of blood vessels, 45 miles of nerves, and all their organs. The cut on the foot's going to heal. You cut the foot on the one on the right, is it ever going to heal?
No.
Because there's innate intelligence in this one right here that allows us to function, that allows us to heal, that runs through that nervous system. And you tell me that there's no central master controlling system here? There's nothing, there's no higher intelligence that's controlling this body? It's amazing when you start thinking about it. The quality of healing, get this, the quality of healing is directly proportional to the functional capability of the central nervous system to send and receive messages. Written by an MD, Jameson Edwards, MD. Says basically what he's saying is that healing and function are controlled by the integrity of the nerves. You have a good nervous system, you heal and function well, your nervous system's not working well, guess what? You ain't living very long. You see, you know what? You get under practice and you're going to see examples of that every day. Every day. This one here, look up, when you go home tonight, Google Henry Windsor. Henry Windsor, MD, did all kinds of studies looking at how the nerves affect organs. And he looked at cadavers of animals, cadavers of humans, and what he found that what these animals or humans died of, let's say they had pancreatic cancer, let's say they had heart disease, there was direct relationship with damage of the nervous system through the spine at that level where that nerve supplied that damaged organ. Direct relationship. And you guys are trying to figure out, do we call it a subluxation? Do we not call it a subluxation? Listen, guys, they exist. They exist like crazy. People are dying because they're subluxated. And we're in here in school. Listen, I went through it too. We're in here in school trying to fight about the definition of what's a subluxation. Oh, is it a bone out of place, or is it a bone that doesn't move properly? Is it really exist? Is it there? My God, I remember going through this. It was like banging my head against the wall. I got out of school so confused about what the heck is a subluxation. I had no idea. I had no idea. But you know what? There's all kinds of evidence that say absolutely it exists. Look at this. Dr. A. Bragg, neurosurgeon, Nobel Prize winner. A Nobel Prize winner is basically saying loss of the cervical curve, subluxation of the spine. Normal lordotic curve is anywhere between 43 and 45 degrees. Medical Studies, Journal of Spine. Okay? It's there. Loss of the cervical curve stretches the spinal cord 5 to 7 centimeters, creating pathological tension on the nerves. Pathological tension on the cord, which then leads to disease. Leads to sickness, leads to early death. It's right there. Neurosurgeon. It's not a chiropractor telling you that. It's all medical studies. Look at, there's no healing force outside of the human body. Dr. Isaac Jennings. It all happens within here. There's no medication that you can give that has the power of this innate intelligence within the body. This is Carter. He's embarrassed. Listen, I'll tell you what. This is, you know, it's interesting. Carter's 14. And he just started riding motocross maybe the year before last. Really got into it last summer. And he's good. He's really good. I don't mind bragging about my own kid here. He's very good. And we see a lot of potential in him and his abilities, and he just loves it. This is his passion right now in life, which is fantastic. And I want to just try to nurture that as much as possible. So I want to tell you this little story about Carter. This is going to give you a perfect example of innate intelligence. Okay? Carter raced all through last summer, did very well, won a few. In fact, very first race he was in, he won. So, raced all through last summer. This was a picture of him up in Owen Sound, racing up in Owen Sound. What happened was, end of the season, very last race of the season, September 30th, was 8.5 weeks ago. He goes to hit a jump. Comes down to the jump, hits the face of the jump. Right? Because it's like a double. It goes like this and then comes back up. So you got to jump over the two jumps if you're going to jump. So he hits the up face of the jump. And he kind of bounces and loses his grip on the handlebars and comes off the handlebars and goes down, hits his elbow, breaks his arm. Okay? So we go up to Owen Sound, and there's his x-ray. Pretty nasty, isn't it? Pretty nasty. So, I mean, think about this is your kid, right? So I was visibly shaken up when I saw this x-ray. And so the surgeon up in Owen Sound said, you know what, this is a very severe break. He needs surgery. He needs surgery right away. In fact, he said, I would do the surgery right now. This is Sunday night, maybe 7, 8 o'clock. I would do the surgery right now, but I don't have the proper surgical screws and surgical equipment here. He goes, you gotta get him home and get him to London. And I said, oh, okay, so we'll get him home, take him to London tomorrow morning. He goes, no, take him tonight. He goes, it's that severe, you gotta take him tonight. Okay, all right, we gotta take him tonight. So what does he do? He gets on the phone and he talks to his mentor, this guy named Dr. Ma, who's at McMaster University in Hamilton. Dr. Ma kind of cools his jets and says, listen, he goes, tell him to come in and see me in a couple of days. He goes, reduce it. He goes, reduce the fracture, which means basically try to set it. Here's a kid who's never had medication in his lifetime. Never. None of my kids, I have 4 boys. Like I said, Carter's number 2, my oldest one's 16, my youngest one's 8. None of my boys has ever had medication in their lifetime. So they're going to go in and they're going to reduce this fracture. And so the doctor comes with me and says, well, we got to give him a sedative. I'm like, yeah, give him a sedative, it's going to hurt. So they gave us some medication, didn't they? And first time ever, so he gets a sedative and basically almost puts him out, but they kept him awake a little bit. And they reduced his arm and put it in a cast at that point. So I walk into the room and he's still half stoned. And I said, Carter, how you doing? He goes, actually, Dad, I didn't feel too bad at all. Never forget it. It was hilarious, actually. So we go see Dr. Ma at McMaster a couple days later. And I'm thinking Dr. Ma's going to say, okay, we got to get this guy in for surgery right away. You know what he said to me? He said, he's a 14-year-old boy. He's still growing. Get this. He goes, his body knows how to heal. I was like, this is a surgeon giving me a lesson on innate intelligence. His body knows how to heal. I'm like, okay, you're the surgeon. I'm going to trust that, doc. So we had a good talk about it. I said, okay. So he sent him home. We were back the next week. A couple more x-rays. This was him. This was the next x-ray after they had said it. After we had the next x-ray, I'm looking at it going, holy crap. He's got to do surgery. You're looking at that thinking, this is your kid. He's got to do surgery. I said that to him. He goes, no, he's a 14-year-old boy. His body knows how to heal. I'm like, wow, this guy's got a lot of faith. Okay. I hope we don't have to have a lawsuit down the road. So we went with it. They recasted him, They put a new cast on him. He said, what we're going to do, he said, we're going to put a heavy cast on him. He goes, this cast is going to weigh about 10 pounds. And what it's going to do is it's going to traction his arm out so that fracture site is going to heal up. It's going to set properly, it's going to heal up. I said, do you think this is going to straighten out? He goes, his body knows how to heal. So, here we go back a few weeks later. Look at that. Starting to come together. Now that was about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. So at that point, he took the cast off. He said, yeah. He said, it's good. You can see all that new bone growth right where that arrow is. You can see all the new bone growth happening right in through this area. I guess it's not there. There's a nose. So right through there's new bone growth happening. So this is starting to strengthen up. So Carter's got his cast off now. Here it is, 8.5 weeks later. Just the other night, I get home. I was out in Calgary on the weekend teaching a seminar. I get home on Sunday night. And what does he tell me on Monday? Dad, I did 5 push-ups on the weekend. Yes. So, things are healing. You know, so here's, but this is the example, guys. This is a medical doctor telling me that you have to trust the innate intelligence within the body. You have to trust it. What's the purpose of chiropractic? You know what? And this is a great question to start asking yourself now that you're in school. What is the purpose of chiropractic? You know, I said earlier, why are you here? Start thinking about this. Is chiropractic something to fix back pain? Is chiropractic something to cure headaches? Is chiropractic something to relieve knee pain? You know, what is it? What is chiropractic? Well, really, you know, chiropractic is, like we talked about earlier, it is the ability to get that innate intelligence working at a higher level up, you know, in the body. Get the healing happening in the body. That's really what it's all about. And I want to get into that a little bit. D.D. Palmer said chiropractic is not a system of remedies. He said it's not a system of therapeutics. It does not use remedies. All we do, guys, listen, the principle of chiropractic comes from one thing. It's about removing interference in the body. You remove it via an adjustment. You remove it via good nutrition. You know, is bad nutrition a subluxation in the body? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Is lack of exercise a subluxation in the body? Absolutely it is. You put all these things together in somebody who's not exercising, eating poorly, and has had maybe some physical trauma, and is under a lot of emotional stress, that's huge subluxation. That's a disconnection from God's power within inside the body. You guys get that? And that is the number one cause of disease. That is the number one cause of death and disease in this country. People are dying because they're subluxated. And we don't seem to understand that. We don't get that as chiropractors until we get out and start seeing it happen. And when you guys get out into practice and start seeing it happen, it's amazing. You know what? Some of you are going to get out and say, yeah, I want to see people for lower back pain. I want to use modalities. But guess what? As soon as you start laying your hands on people, as soon as you start caring for people, whether you use diversified technique, or whether you use upper cervical, or whether you use Thompson technique, or Gonstead, or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you have the right intent, to allow that body to start functioning and healing at a higher level, guess what? You're going to see miracles happen in your practice. You will see miracles happen. You will have patients come to you and say, listen, doc, I came to see you for lower back pain. I know you helped me with my lower back pain, but guess what? I was able to get off my high blood pressure pills because my body's starting to function better. It happens all the time. And you guys will start, you know, you believe it when you start seeing it. I want to talk about the 4 stages of chiropractic success, okay? So if you're taking notes, I want you to write this stuff down, okay? If you're not taking notes, then write this stuff down, okay? This is important. Important stuff. And this will help you understand exactly. This will help to open your mind. It'll help to open your mind of where you are versus where you might want to be, where I was, where I got to over the years. We come out of Chiropractic College with something called unconscious incompetence. Let me explain that. We don't know what we don't know. I came out of Chiropractic College knowing what was basically taught to me over those 4 years. That was it. So my idea, my thought process was to practice the way that I was taught by my clinicians. Many of which, God bless them, many of which had never practiced chiropractic in practice before. They got out of school, they went, you know, and got their clinician specialties and so on. They went out to Saskatoon, they went out, you know, wherever they get these specialties, and then they came back and practiced at the college. And they were great guys, but many of them have never practiced. So, fantastic, you know what? I just did what they told me to do in clinic. I didn't know what I didn't know. And it wasn't until I started opening my mind to what else is out there, that's when I started learning things. So we move from the stage of unconscious incompetence, and then we start realizing that there's more out there for us. And that is called conscious incompetence. In other words, our mind is now open, but we're not sure how to make it happen. Okay? Make sense? We know there's something different, we're just not sure how to make it happen. We're not sure how to get the results. But this is good because now things start changing. And the moment you start to recognize that there's something else out there, that there's something more that you can be doing, there's something more to learn, and you're not stuck in your little box with your 4 walls, and you start to expand those walls and think outside that little box, guess what? Things happen. You know, the phone starts ringing. People start calling you. People start asking for your help. You start seeing cases that you've never seen before. You go from your typical lower back pain cases, and you start seeing people coming in saying, my child's got asthma. Do you think you can help them? My mother has severe cancer, 4th-stage cancer. She doesn't want to do physiotherapy, or she doesn't want to do chemotherapy, and she doesn't want to do radiation. Can you help her? You start seeing stuff like that, and you're going to get blown away by the opportunities to really, you want to help people? Listen, save lives. Get out there, start talking about the principle. So you move from this conscious incompetence, we know what we need to do, but we're not certain how to do it, or for us old guys, or we choose not to do it. We know what we need to do, but we're just too lazy to do it. Okay? And there's a lot of people that I talk to that are in that stage as well. And then we move into conscious competence. Now we know what we know, and we're doing what we know. We know what we need to do, and we are now actively training and working on changing our pattern and habits. So now our practice is starting to reflect what our thought process is. We reach congruency in our life. Congruency in our thoughts, congruency in our actions. And all of a sudden, when this starts happening, you'll have to hire more people. Like your practice gets busy, people start understanding what you're all about, your procedures reflect that, and all of a sudden the phone is ringing like crazy. And then you move into something called unconscious competence, where you just become the person that you're dreaming to be. Because your routine is now just you. You are chiropractic. You're not a chiropractor anymore. You are chiropractic. It just exudes every pore from your body. People around you are afraid to tell you. They're afraid to tell you that they had a bag of chips because you're all about eating well. You're all about exercising. You keep yourself in tip-top shape. You know, people in your office are afraid to miss an appointment because they know how important, they know the love in your heart that you want them to succeed and want them to be as good as they can possibly be. That's unconscious competence. You don't have to think about training, it just happens. You don't have to think about your daily routine, it just happens. It's just part of you, you know? People know, you know, a good friend of mine likes to have fun, let me put it that way. He likes to go out, and he likes to have a party, and he likes to drink, and so he just went down to Vegas a couple weeks ago. And so I talked to him. He's in the office this week getting back on his adjustment schedule. And he said, yeah, we were just down in Vegas. I said, oh, that was awesome. I said, great, it must have been a great trip. He goes, yeah. He goes, well, we talked about asking you to come with us, but we just know you wouldn't come because you're so committed to your practice. And I said, yeah, you're right. I said, I wouldn't have come. I said, there's too many important things for me to do here. Plus, you know what, if I'm going to go away, I want to go away with my family, you know? So that's our priorities. You get your priorities straight, and people around you just understand what you're all about. There's a quote that says, live in such a way that if somebody said a bad thing about you, nobody else would believe it. Unconscious incompetence, something to strive for. Let's go to 10 tips for success. 10 tips for success. So here's some more stuff to write down. You want to be successful in practice? Let's think about these things. I said there's a fellow in Brantford where I practice, and his name is Vince. And Vince has been a patient of mine since he was a young teenager. Over the years, and very regular patient, great family. And he came to me one day when he was probably about maybe 17, 18 and said, Dr. Colin, he said, I've really decided I want to become a chiropractor. He goes, I love what you do here. He goes, it's made such a difference in my life. I want to become a chiropractor. So we talked about, you know, chiropractic colleges and where he would go, and he ended up making the choice to go to Palmer. He's down at Palmer. Well, I said to Vince is about to graduate next year. They go through trimesters at Palmer, and so he's in his 8th try now. So he's got less than a year to go. And he came to me when he was probably in about 4th try. He goes, what do you think? Do you have any suggestions for me, you know, that would help me get through school and you know, make me successful or help me be successful when I get out of school? And I said, you know, take the time, and this is a suggestion for you guys, take the time to go and visit as many different practices, as many different chiropractors as you possibly can before you decide where or how to practice. Okay? You may have an idea in your mind right now, this is what my practice is going to look like, which is fine, which is great. In fact, I hope that you do. If you don't, I want you to seriously start considering that. What's your practice going to look like? But before you make the decision, go see as many people as you possibly can. Because you're going to get so much. You're going to get so filled up with the principle. You're going to get so filled up with different ways to practice and different people that they see, different patients. It's going to really help to mold you and define you. You're going to say, yeah, I really like that. I don't like that. I like this. It's going to really help make your life a lot easier down the road. Okay, that's tip number 1. Number 2, never condemn. Never condemn your colleague for the way they practice or their philosophical beliefs. This, guys, 20 years in practice, this is the worst profession for making complaints about other chiropractors. Chiropractors complaining about other chiropractors. The worst profession. I have a good friend who's a medical doctor. He's on the hospital board in my town. And he tells me these stories. He says, there's 2 chiropractors on this hospital board with him. One's a real principled subluxation-based guy. One does independent medical assessments. Okay? So very different ends of the spectrum. One guy's trying to promote chiropractic for families and healthcare and this and that. The other guy's trying to get people off of chiropractic care for the insurance companies. So he said, we go to these board meetings, and he said, we're trying to get through different topics at the board meetings. And he goes, these guys visibly despise each other. They argue, they butt heads over everything. It's like if one guy said white, the other guy would naturally say black, whether he believed that or not, just to contradict the other guy. He said, this is the worst. You guys, this is a medical doctor, you guys have the worst. He goes, I would never talk that way about my colleague. He goes, I would never talk. He goes, there's a lot of medical doctors out there, and they do a lot of different things. And he goes, some of them, I completely despise the way they take care of their patients, but I would never publicly humiliate them. I would never talk that way about my colleague. You don't have to like them, but you respect them for what they are and who they are. And he said that's one of the biggest things he notices. And I've seen that so much in the profession. So that's a big tip for you guys, is that respect your colleagues, don't condemn them. Okay? Have the heart of a servant. You have to ask yourself a question. Is chiropractic a right, or is chiropractic a privilege? There's no right or wrong here. It's got to be your choice. In the patient's mind, is chiropractic a right, or is chiropractic a privilege? And that's really going to define how you're going to care for that patient. In my mind, you know what? Listen, I would see, if I could potentially, I would see everybody in the world and not charge them a cent. Right? But have I done that? Absolutely not. Do people need to value your services? I think we should be getting paid $150, $200 for an adjustment. I think it's worth that much. In fact, I think it's worth more than that. You have to define what chiropractic is to you. But you know what? In your first year, in your first couple years of practice, see as many people as you can. Get your hands on as many people as you can. If you got to go to the hospital, you got to go to the hostel, you got to go to the soup kitchen, you got to go to the children's ward, wherever it is, get your hands on as many people as you can and adjust them and teach them about the principle and teach them that there's an incredible intelligence within their body that allows them to function, allows them to heal. Do it as much as you can. And guess what? You know, the universe provides for you. God provides for you. He will tell you, He will allow you, He will bring that back to you tenfold in time. You give your services away in the initial few years of practice, when you're not as busy, it will come back to you in multiplication, in just multiples of not only finances, but fulfillment as well. Have an objective outcome measure. Okay? When you're in practice, no matter how you practice, have an objective outcome measure. Pain is not an outcome measure. Just because there's a presence or absence of pain doesn't mean that person is corrected. Can a person with end-stage cancer have no pain? Yes. Absolutely they can. Does that mean they're healthy? No way. Okay? So don't let pain dictate whether that patient needs chiropractic care or they don't need chiropractic care. Right? That's not a measurable outcome. Whether you do orthopedic tests, whether you do palpation, whether you do range of motion, posture, x-ray dependent studies, whatever it is, have an objective outcome measure. Have something you can show the patient where they're suffering and how they're getting better through the course of care, how those tests are improving. Take a picture of them. Have them stand against the posture grid. Take a picture of them. Adjust them a few times. Take another picture of them. See the difference. It's amazing to see. We do pre and post x-rays in our office, and do you guys ever get into like when radiology and stuff like that? I could show you hundreds and hundreds of x-rays where spines have changed shape, scoliosis have straightened out, lateral curves in the neck have come back. It's amazing to see. And when patients see that, do you think that reinstills in their mind that they're doing something right? Absolutely. Have an objective outcome measure that helps the patient understand that, rather than pain. Have a system of delivery that is consistent and thorough. Name a successful company. Apple. Sure, okay. Do you think Apple has a system of delivery that is consistent? Do you think they have training for their employees? Absolutely. What about something as simple as Tim Hortons? You go to any Tim Hortons across Ontario, and you get pretty much the same service everywhere. Same, you know what you're getting, right? You get the same product, you get the same sort of service, you get a very similar type of experience every Tim Hortons you go to. Do you think they train on stuff like that? I think it's important for you in your office to promote that as well and have a very similar type of service for every patient that comes in. You want to be thorough and you want to be consistent. So that when Mary comes in and has a great experience and she goes home and tells John, and John comes into your office and gets something completely different, that's not right. So it's important to have a system of delivery. And that's something that, you know, when I go and I coach other chiropractors out in Calgary on the weekends, we were talking exactly like that. We talk about office procedures and how to make them consistent, how to train with your staff, how to prepare for your day. You know, this is all important stuff. It's not just randomly show up and put your hands on people. There's got to be a system. Number 6. This is a huge one for you guys now in school, because I know what I was like in school. Address and conquer self-destructive behaviors. Like I said earlier at the beginning, you guys don't know how powerful you can become. You have no clue. You don't know what a huge impact you can make on humanity, on your community, on your families, on your friends, on your patients that you're going to see in the future. You have no clue. But the first thing you got to do is get yourself right. Get yourself right. So if there's things in your life right now that you know are self-destructive, you know what? You're smoking weed, you're smoking cigarettes, you're drinking too much, you're watching pornography. You guys got to address these things now. You start putting destructive things in your mind and you get destructive output. Listen, you got to address it now. Seriously. It's a huge key to your success in the future. It is a huge key to your success in the future. So start thinking about these things. My dad told me this years ago. How many of you guys have already picked out the car you want to get? Come on, you have. Especially the guys, right? I remember when I was at National, there was a guy at National in my first year who would wear this Mercedes emblem around on a necklace around his neck. And I mean, he made it clear to everybody, this is the first car I'm getting when I get out of Chiropractic College. But here's the thing, here's my suggestion to you guys. Until you have been successful enough to have enough money in your bank account that you can go out and buy the car, don't buy it. Okay? So apply that to everything. Live below your means. You'll be extremely successful. Listen, there was a guy that I went to National with my first year. Todd was his name. Great guy. He was in my wedding party, actually. And we always thought Todd was one of the most popular guys in school. Good-looking guy. He was always very friendly with everybody. Everybody knew him. Very athletic guy. We thought, if anybody's going to do well, this is the guy that's going to do well. Well, he got into a situation in practice that just really didn't fit very well. Got kind of fed up, had some problems. You know what he does now? He's a manager at Toys R Us down in the States. He ended up staying down there. You know what? It breaks my heart. Because here's a guy who had the world by the tail. He really could have made a difference in so many people's lives. And now he sells Lego. So get yourself right. Live below your means. Number 8. Be different. Don't follow the norm. Be like the cat walking in front of the German Shepherds. Here's the thing. Listen. Think of yourself as a patient who knows nothing about chiropractic. Okay? And you have a spasm in your lower back. Just for example. Could you not go to the medical doctor for that spasm and get some pain relief? Yeah, you could, couldn't you? Great. You can get some medication, get some pain relief. Could you not go to a physiotherapist and potentially get some pain relief? Yeah. Could you go to a massage therapist and get some pain relief? Yeah. why would then you go to a chiropractor if they're just going to do exactly the same thing as those previous three? Did you ever think about that? If you're a patient, why would you go to the chiropractor if you're going to get the exact same thing? If you're going to get some massage or some electric current or some ultrasound or medication or whatever it is, why would you go? Okay? So be different. Do something different. Do something unique. And this is the great thing about our profession. You have the ability to be completely unique. You really do have that ability. Don't duplicate what's already out there. Be part of something bigger. Successful people have a big vision. I have a huge vision for chiropractic. I have a huge vision for my community, but it's important to be plugged into something. So whether you're in Friends in Chiropractic, whether you're in the ML group, be part of something that in your heart you stand for something, and you're with like-minded people that also stand for the same thing. That's why I love going to Maximize Living seminars. I mean, I've been involved in that for the last 10 years. I love it because you're with 1,000 people that think the same way that you do. It's really amazing to be there. It's just such an energy. So be part of something bigger, whatever that is. I mean, maybe it's a different type of group, whatever, but be part of something bigger. And then know and share your purpose. First of all, figure out your purpose. What is your purpose? Figure out your purpose. Know and share your purpose with every single person you meet in the future. I really feel like I was put on this planet to serve God by serving man through chiropractic. That's my mission. Serve God by serving man through chiropractic. Like Dee Dee says on his bust up in Port Perry, I've never felt it below my dignity to relieve human suffering in some way. If there's something that I can do for a patient to help them to have a better life, to help them to find their purpose, to help them to lead what God has planned for them, I've done my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I really feel that because I've recognized that calling, because I think that way, we've been blessed incredibly with a huge practice, with incredible income. We've made millions and millions of dollars, but I don't say that because I've never really tried to make millions of dollars. We just serve our purpose, and that's a beautiful side effect of, really, it's a blessing of serving your community, of serving